Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to have you all on the call bright and early this morning. Morning, Olika. Morning, Dad and Mom dialing in from New Zealand. Morning, Viv. Great to have you on board. Kiran, yay, you're on time and you're in Australia and you're dialing in. Fantastic to have you on. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. For everybody dialing in, Kiran he recently completed our 90-day challenge and is our record breaker from the female side, losing 16.7 kgs in 90 days. Whoop, whoop, and doing it from Australia. That's awesome. And we have Olika, who's in Dubai doing the 90-day FITBANKER challenge as well. Absolutely impressive, ladies. Hats off to you for really taking life on and not having geographical barriers and boundaries be your excuse for not owning your health and not transforming it. Morning, Kalpana. Wonderful to have you on board. Jag, yay. Great to have you on board. Love spending the weekend with you. So we did our Mount Snowdon trek this weekend where we had 28 of us climb the mountain. Everybody summited, 100% of the group, and came back. Phenomenal weekend in Wales. Wonderful to have everybody on. So welcome, guys. It is 7:02, kicking off. And to set context, we do these calls really to disrupt the status quo, where people on Sundays get Sunday blues, and then there's Monday morning blues, and then you're going to work thinking, ugh, dragging your feet in there. Here's disrupting that, and creating a world where when you wake up feeling extraordinarily powerful, super amazing, intentional, knowing you own your life, you create it however you choose for it to be, and bringing intentionality into every single moment. And so what we say here is, thank God it's Monday. Bring on the smile and let's take life on. Now, for today's call, we finished our 5 Pillars of Life series last week, and we have Ronnie and Kane on as well. Good morning, guys. And on today's call, we are looking at being strong. Now, this is a huge topic that's been in my mind this entire weekend. We had a bunch of 28 people. The youngest was 16 months, Kanea, who's joined us on this call today. And the wisest was my 73-year young father-in-law, who's come from Zambia, not really adventurous. Yes, 3 years ago, he did do the FITBANKER challenge, again, at an age and an era and at a time, and coming from a generation where he never went to the gym, didn't even walk, lives in a country, Zambia, where you get in your car and then go anywhere you need to go, even if it's 2 minutes away. And he took on transforming his health and lost close to 20 kgs and has just maintained most of it through walking, through eating healthy, through just really exploring what's possible for me, because his greater context was, I want to be around when I have my grandkids. And 2 years on, he's had his first grandchild. And, this weekend was phenomenal for us because we had 3 generations summiting the highest mountain in Wales and England together, which is Kanea, Ronnie, and Ronnie's dad. And none of that would have been possible if Ronnie's dad had not taken on transforming his health, had not taken on prioritizing, my body is my most greatest asset. And so that story really moves me. And when I look at strength and what it takes for us to do what we do in life, I realize, as I was reflecting, that we're born into a culture where we're always motivated to be strong, right? You simply need to look on Google or look at multiple forwards that come in a day that tell you to be strong. The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. Be strong, be beautiful, be you. When you fall, get back up. It's not about not falling. It's about getting up every time you fall. There's so much about being strong that you read, that you hear, and that becomes your narrative. That becomes the way most of us in this day and age operate. It's being strong. And you know what? That's brilliant. And when we started off our trek this Saturday, one thing we created for everybody was we always do introductions. We go around and we create a space of connectedness. So most of the 28 people have not met each other before. Many of them are doing a trek for the first time. Some of them know each other. Some of them are family. And most of them are strangers. And so how do we connect and create that relatedness amongst the group? And we always do, and many of you may have seen this on Facebook Lives, the session we do, or even the treks that you've joined us on, is we go around doing introductions. We have people say their names and then do different icebreaker exercises. And this time what we did was we had everybody go around and say their name, say one thing they're grateful for, and one thing they can be counted on for that day when the trek's going on. And everybody said the most incredibly generous things, which was, you can count on me to support you. You can count on me to be funny. You can count on me to pick you up when you're falling down. You can count on me to talk to you. Jag loves talking. Her husband said, you can count on me for listening. I'm a great listener. And so on and so forth. We have 28 giants sharing, creating a space of support in that group where everybody got what they can be counted on for. However, as we were going around the room, what I got present to is everybody's talking about what they can give, how they can be a contribution. I don't know how we can contribute to them, how they can receive, where their pain points are. What's going to happen when 60 to 70% of the way up the mountain, when they're feeling like they can't do it? What is that trigger, that default mechanism, that default go-to place that they go to, that we know that they're there, and then pick them up, and what supports them best? And the issue was not in what they were sharing. The issue was in how I had created the context of what they need to share. Similar to the culture we're all raised in, similar to that narrative, which is be strong. That's precisely what I had set the tone for, and everybody spoke into that. And I asked the question differently, which is, when you're at your weakest on the mountain today, how can we support you? We would have had a different round of answers going around. And that's not to say that what people said and shared was bad, not at all. It was incredible to see the generosity of a bunch of mostly strangers and how they're willing to be a contribution to one another. That's beautiful in itself. However, what I realized in that moment, and then have been reflecting on this whole weekend, is that we live in a binary culture, strong versus weak. If you're not strong, you must be weak. Good versus bad. If you're not bad, then you're really good. And if you're not good, then you're bad. Happy versus sad. We all chase this pursuit of happiness. When things go well, we're so elated. And then when they don't, we're so sad. Intelligent versus dumb. Fast versus slow. And I can think of my own personal experiences when I had, multiple different examples where Ronnie and I had a 6-year long distance relationship. I was in New Zealand and then Australia, and he was in Zambia and then England. And you know what? I was so goddamn proud of myself, because no matter what, I was strong as hell in the constant change of environments, circumstances, insecurities, breakdowns, continents being shifted, new communities being created. I got through it all. I made it to London. Here we are, married, and it's remarkable. And that's a story that the world has us create for ourselves. That's what we think being strong looks like. And there's a danger of the single narrative. The danger of the single narrative is that when we're too strong, we don't allow ourselves to ever then be vulnerable. We then don't allow ourselves to cry and say, I need help. We then don't allow ourselves to say, I can't do this. Can somebody please support me? Because that's not the culture we're in. That's not the conversation we're having. That's not the context that's been created for us. And that most certainly isn't how we want to relate to ourselves as somebody who wants help, somebody who wants support. Because surely, if that's who we're being, then we must not be strong. And if we're not being strong, then we have some label, some association, some trigger about that. For most of us, I know most certainly for me, it was, if I'm not strong, if I'm not charging ahead, if I'm not proving to the world, to myself, that I can do this by myself, then goddamn, I must be a failure. I must be average. And to be average is just not on. We're told ongoingly, be extraordinary, go out there and be your best. More so in this generation and generations to come, where we're expected to excel, we're expected to be our best version. God damn, that is so limiting and so suffocating. And the example I gave you right now, which was around, the long distance relationship, that's precisely one of my biggest ahas and takeaways in hindsight, which was, I didn't have the space, the context, the language to say, I need support. I'm really struggling. And, I'd go out, hang out with friends and have a brilliant time and laugh. And maybe that great company, which I was blessed with, maybe the amazing circle of friends, allowed me to then generate happy hormones in my body and maintain some sort of mental equilibrium. But in many cases, we don't have that, because when we are in a place of overwhelm, we kind of keep to ourselves. We suppress, we go inward. And in that process, if we're not reflecting and growing, then we're suppressing and going down a downward spiral, which is a dangerous place. But yet, to the world, we put on a strong front. And so you can be in a train filled with 1,000 people, packed in like sardines, everybody putting on a brave front, carrying on with things, but we're almost in our isolated, self-created prisons where nobody knows what it is we're dealing with. So being strong necessarily isn't a good thing, because being strong alone is one end of the spectrum. And in the world where we exist with this binary culture, we're selling out on really experiencing the true magic of what being strong looks like, because we're living the single narrative. And what I want to draw your attention to today, what I want to invite you to start considering opening a new realm of existence, is what would it look like to bring equanimity, to bring equilibrium in our moments of weakness? What would it look like if we didn't relate to the world as, if I'm not good, therefore I'm bad. If I'm not strong, then I'm weak. If I'm not intelligent, therefore I must be dumb. If we let go of, if I'm not one, then I'm the other, and stand in, maybe I'm both. And because I'm both, therefore I'm holistic. Because I'm both, therefore I come and bring this balance. Because I'm both, therefore I have a sound experience of looking at how I can leverage one to bring out the best in another. What would that look like? What would it be like if I could be strong, or even stronger, by asking for support? If I could be neutral in the face of my best moment, as well as my most terrifying experience ever. If I could be just as happy during strengths, achievements, accomplishments, victory, as I can be in loss and failure, in not making my goals, not getting where I want to be. What would that look like? What would it look like to bring that equilibrium? Think of areas in your life where you have just been strong, where you have been relentless, where the world has said, bravo, well done, you made it. What cost did it come at? The example I give you of our long distance relationship, the cost, me being just strong, came at was I never got to leverage my brilliant circle of friends. I never got to say, I'm really struggling and I really need your support. I never allowed them to be a contribution to me. And if I had allowed them to be, I would have flourished more. I would have grown more. I wouldn't have had to deal with breakdowns on my own. And I can think of that multiple times over in university during exams. When I'm at work, when I'm really struggling, asking for help occurs like it's a demonstration of weakness, because we're told, we're assessed. We have mid-year reviews, annual reviews, appraisals around what we've done really well, and then there's areas of development. And in some places we have mentoring, in some places we don't. But what would it really look like if we bring equanimity and get that, God damn, my strength in this moment is reaching out to X, to Joe Block, my manager, to my partner, to my parent, to my friend, to my kids, to my neighbors, to the stranger standing next to me, and say, can you please support me? Can you please help me? What would that experience feel like? Unfortunately, for me in the last year, and I share with many of you, 2017 was perhaps the most challenging year of my existence. A brand new mom, no parents around, phenomenal friends, and we are in London, so everybody lives, a good half an hour away. But having that multi-generational community is something we don't have here, literally living 5 seconds away from us, like we have in New Zealand, everybody living on the same street or close by, which is where I'm from, or Zambia, where Ronnie's from. And so in the absence of that, we're left with our intellect. We're left with what Google tells us. We're left with what the midwives tell us. And paranoia about how things will be, should be, how your baby is, isn't, health, safety, sleep deprivation, whether you're a good mom, bad mom, all of that is left to your own judgment. And it's the most overwhelming space. It's confronting, it's challenging. You're so vulnerable, and yet you're so exhausted emotionally, physically, and in every other aspect. And what I discovered was the more I shared my challenges and the difficult place I'm in, the more I heard those who are moms share exactly the same because they've all been through the same journey or are going through the same journey. And yet, for some reason, nobody shares it. And so nobody said, this will be a very familiar place that you're in. I had to discover it. And then only when I started sharing it did I realize that everybody else is actually in that same boat or has been through that same boat. And I wonder, what would it be like if people just get on a call or talk to their friends and say, this is what I've been through and I need support. Or this is what I've been through. I didn't ask for support, but hey, you're going through it. And guess what? It's absolutely normal. Collectively, together, we then become each other's strengths rather than standing in our silos, putting on this metal fort around us, thinking that strength, that is not strength. That becomes our biggest weakness because we totally cut ourselves off the roots that then empower us, enable us, make us stronger together as one rather than individually alone. And so last year's experience and thereafter, what I realized is the generosity and willingness of others to be a contribution is absolutely incredible. And all we need to do is ask. And so traveling on the tube by myself with a gigantic pram, before I know it, some stranger's arms and hands are lifting that pram, putting it on the train, are carrying it up the stairs with me, are helping me cross escalators, where there's no lift and holding it up and down and it's a big juggling act. I don't know these people, but all I had to do was ask an amazing stranger whether they could help. And I've never had an experience where somebody said no. I've never had an experience where somebody said, what kind of mom are you? Who the hell asked for support? I've only had people say, absolutely, of course, more than happy to. I've had people who aren't even going up the stairs that I'm going, kind of see me at the bottom and say, would you like a hand? I assume they're going the same way and I say yes. Until we get to the other side and I look back and I see them going back up the stairs to go to the other platform because that's where they were going. And so here's my biggest takeaway for you guys, my biggest invitation for you guys is the single narrative that we've been born into, which is be strong, pick yourself up when you fall, is good, but it's only a single narrative. It needs to be coupled with that's great, and you're even stronger when you actually reach out for support. When you can say to people, whether it's your family, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's your business partners, whether it's your clients, whether it is your strangers you meet, whether it's the grocery guy, whether it is your laundry mate, whoever, right? Your kids. Often we have it that parents need to know everything and we impose things on kids. When you start listening to your kids as the most wisest, intelligent souls ever, they get to be a contribution to you. And it's just incredible. And so I want to pause there and ask you guys, where have you for far too long put up a front of being strong and just isolated and sold out on really truly discovering your truest strength when you get to do something as community? Where has that danger of a single narrative kept you going, but in a limited way because the nail is still in your foot because you're doing it isolated? Feel free to unmute yourself, guys, and just share. And this is a safe space to share. There's no right or wrong answer. It's really just a discovery journey in what we're experiencing and getting present to right now.
Morning, Ambika. It's Divya
here. Morning, Divya. So great to finally have you on the call.
I know. You know what? Sorry, I've not been around. So to answer your question, I think for me is as a mother and as a wife as well, and just try to do everything. Try to be superwoman, and actually do need the help. And it's just asking for that help is sometimes just feel like you're a failure if you ask for help.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the big thing for me. It's like I just feel like I have to do everything, and I don't. And I need to start accepting that.
Thank you for sharing that. And sorry, go on.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really moves me because I absolutely resonate with that and relate to that 200%, right? Asking for support in any shape or form occurs as failure, because more so for women of this day and age, where there is a superwoman prototype created out there, right? There are
Yeah.
those that have, a mom carrying a baby, a broomstick, a pot, a pan, multiple hands, almost like an Indian goddess avatar. And that's our modern day mom, where she's going to work, she's looking after kids, she's looking after her husband, her in-laws, her family, the community, the world, and everybody else. And what's left over here is a very depleted body, a very depleted vessel. When we're empty, we have nothing to give to others other than just frustration and exhaustion. And when we can really truly stand in, heck, I need this vessel to fill in order to give. I need to be an opening for people to contribute towards me. That's where the love and the magic shows up. Thank you so much for sharing that, Divya. It's such a raw point for me, especially. And my invitation to you is sit down with your kids and sit down with your hubby and just say, guys, where can we create team in our household, in our day-to-day stuff? And knowing who you are, Divya, with every seminar we've been to with the Hemraj Foundation, you're their center point, giving, 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 giving. Your way of being is that of somebody who's of great service to humanity. And so your default will not be to say, hey, can somebody get me lunch? Hey, can somebody support me? Hey, can somebody do this for me? And I am absolutely, sure, and it's amazing to hear you share that that's who you are at home, right? Giving, giving, giving. And that's brilliant. And it just has to be balanced with asking, being open to receiving, and not making it mean that it's because I'm weak, but making it mean because I'm that much stronger that I can actually ask for help. And it's brilliant because I found the quote that I shared for this morning's call, which is, people cry not because they've been weak, but because they've been strong for too long. And seeing you get moved is so pertinent, it's so evident of when we are just so strong for that long, then the only thing we're breaking is our own backs. So thank you so much for sharing that so vulnerably. And here's a game for you, which is create a structure with family, with your hubby, with your kids, with your friends, of what would it look like to ask for support? What would it look like to say, guys, I'm tired, who can whip up dinner today? Or how about we create team dishwashing activities? Or whatever else it is, cleaning stuff around the house, or who can, help with folding the laundry the fastest, and creating fun games with kids, or whatever else it is with your hubby, to just say, I'm really spent, and your support here will be phenomenal. And every time I've done that, which has been so atypical of me historically, but every time I've done that in the last year and a half, I've just been amazed by Ronnie's generosity, by humanity's generosity. Even with Kanea, now that he's standing and is able to pull stuff out of the dishwasher, his generosity in helping empty the dishwasher. So when we ask, the universe then responds. So thank you for that, Divya. Who else would like to share? What are you hearing for yourself? Where have you just really sold out on experiencing your greatest strength because you've been doing things solo, trying to be strong by your own?
Hi, Ambika. It's Alika here.
Hey, Alika.
I'm actually in South Africa now. I'm on holiday, so I flew down from Dubai. So that's the reason I can get on this call. It's actually opened in South Africa, not in Dubai.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to be here for a month. All right, so my the thought that I was having was I'm scared to be vulnerable because of the multiple times that I've been rejected, put down, taken advantage of, that kind of thing. So when all that you're saying makes sense, what you put out in the universe is what you'll get back. But I think as much as I'm trying to like put out that I'm willing to be vulnerable, I'm willing to ask for help, there's always that little voice that speaks inside that says, hey, remember what happened the last time? Like you need to make sure you can take care of yourself. And so that's not true. I've been taking care of myself, and I've been living by myself for about 5 years now. And I feel like every time I want to ask for something, I always think just make sure you can do it yourself as well, because you can't really trust anyone.
Sorry, Olga, say the last bit. I lost the connection. It's a bit muffled. So the last bit was every time you ask for help.
Yeah, you also like I always go back to past experiences that if it hadn't
Hi, Olika.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, I thought I lost you. Okay, brilliant. That is so amazing. I love that you share that. Thank you. You know, one of the greatest
Sure.
things that we get trained on. So Ronnie and I have done years of coaching. We've done training as leaders, and you know, regardless of the institution and the organization that we did the leadership training with and did the coaching with, one of the biggest tools and distinctions you get trained on, or the most fundamental ones you get trained on, is the which totally disrupts what we're born and raised in, which is when you cry, you know, we as kids you hear people say, "Oh, stop crying like a baby," and then as an adult you hear that again. "Oh, come on, you're running on the play field in school, you fall, people, you cry," and there's this narrative you hear people say, "Don't cry like a baby, get back up. Don't cry like a baby, don't be a baby, get back up. Stop being a sissy, stop being a girl, be stronger, toughen up, come on. There's nothing to cry about." And all those subtle messagings condition us in us believing that being vulnerable, therefore, is weak, right? And we have it throughout our entire existence. And when we get, and actually, Alika, I want you to look at the greatest leaders that inspire you, all right? Listen to their talks. The greatest leaders out there will never talk about their accomplishments without talking about their failures, right? And hearing that and connecting that with our training as leaders, our training as coaches, and the years of coaching we've seen and done, is it's not weak to be vulnerable. It actually takes tremendous courage to be vulnerable. And I get that in the past, you may have asked for support and it didn't quite go the way you wanted it to. And so that past is so in your future, it's so in your present moment that it's almost acting as that nail in your foot. It's almost acting as, you know, that those bells that are fastening you to a seat and not allowing you to just open your wings and fly is a past-based context. And I want you to get that that's not tangible. The past is done and dusted, right? What's right now in this moment is you on a call with infinite possibilities to what's possible, right? And this is when we say that something happened and then we make it mean something, and then we make what we made it mean become the truth. But that's not the truth. We asked somebody for help and it went a certain way, and that's just what's so. Be with the isness of it. Don't have it make it mean that therefore, because I've asked people not once, not twice, but maybe several times, and it hasn't quite gone as expected, therefore screw them and I'm just going to have to carry on with myself. Not at all. There's a place where you're coming from, which is a place of concern, a place of fear, a place of judgment, a place of scarcity, right? And that's what's showing up for you in the universe out there when you ask for support. And I promise you, Alika, when you can let go of that concern, that fear of how will people judge me, that fear of if I am vulnerable, therefore I'm weak, if you just let go of that narrative and relate to yourself as whole and complete, however you are, perfect. And there's abundance out there. And therefore, when you're asking for support, it's not coming from, will they help, won't they help? It's saying, when I ask for support, they goddamn will help. Because you're coming from a place of, there's abundance in the universe rather than scarcity. The context within which we live makes all the difference, right? That totally creates how we receive experiences. And if our context is that people will judge me, they absolutely will respond precisely to the way your concerns are showing up for you. Does that make sense, Alika?
That completely makes sense. It's like as if, although I'm putting out something there that's almost half-hearted, so it always comes back. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ambika.
Great.
I really wish I could get on these calls more often.
Yeah,
Very lovely.
we're
Thank you so
actually
much.
going to try some. There's a bigger demand for these calls, and so from next week onwards, we're going to try shifting these calls from Zoom to Be Live Now on Facebook, where we can actually we'll literally open it to the world, Monday morning calls, but also
That'd be perfect.
proposition. And if that's a possibility, I still need to look into the functionality and the geographical, whether regions like Dubai that can't access Zoom can. If not, then we'll just have to keep sharing our YouTube recordings with you. But it's just wonderful to have you on, and for having you share so openly and so vulnerably. Love it, Alika.
Thanks, Ambika.
All right, guys. So it is 7:30. And, I am so present too in the last 3 days, having climbed the mountain, seeing my father-in-law literally walk 10 steps, pause, 10 steps, pause, 10 steps, pause, 10 steps, pause, finally make it to the summit, that yes, you can be strong. There's nothing you cannot accomplish. And what was behind him and what was around him was community. There was Ronnie. There was one of our greatest friends, Amir. There was Jag's husband, Sunil. There was myself. There was his grandson there, Kanaya, on somebody's back fast asleep. But for him to know that I want to get to that summit with my grandson, and that will be a narrative, that will be a story of victory for a lifetime, for generations. And so, yes, be strong, ladies, be strong, men, be strong, everybody. And get that you can be even stronger when you ask for support, knowing with no doubt that the universe will respond abundantly, generously, and you just get to experience your best self. So on that note, guys, big hugs, lots of love. It is 7:31. We are 1 minute over. Have a powerful day. And powerful does not mean go out there, chart solo. Powerful means get connected to the power of community, get connected to being vulnerable, takes courage. Share, ask, reach out, and contribute. Big hugs, lots of love. Connect with you all next Monday. See you guys.
MB, thank you.
Bye.